Most beginner photography videos teach you how to take more photos. This one is about taking fewer. If you're anything like me, you don't need another settings tutorial. You need a reason to slow down. So this is my beginner's guide to film photography, filtered through one question: how do we notice our lives again? In this video, I want to share 5 things that I have learned as a beginner film photographer. Not about settings and cameras, but about pace and attention, and why these little boxes still matter in today's digital world. And if you stick to the end, I'll give you an experiment you can do that can maybe slow down your photography and even your life. The first thing is, film doesn't need to replace digital. When I first picked up a film camera, I felt the pressure to choose a side: film or digital, fast or slow, romanticized or practical. Digital is amazing. It's fast, it's forgiving, it's flexible, and you can learn on the go. Film is intentional, it's slow. It costs you money. And that's what makes it so powerful. I don't use film instead of digital. I use film to counterbalance digital. On family days or quick moments, digital allows me the freedom to quickly snap some photos without having the pressure of losing those moments. On slower mornings, walks, trips, and intentional shoots, shooting film is my way of saying this matters enough to do it slowly. So instead of asking, should I move to film? Maybe ask, where in my life do I want to move more slowly and more intentionally? That might be weekend walks, coffee with a friend, time with your family. It doesn't need to take over your photography. It can just be the place where you practice being present. The second thing I learned is that composition is everything. Every photographer says that composition is important, but film photography really let that lesson sink in. On digital, you can spray and pray, you can crop later, fix it in post. Digital, it's intentional. Every shot is a tiny little decision that you have to make. So instead of asking, is my exposure perfect? I've started asking, is this moment worth taking? Here are 3 small habits that I try to implement to make my photography better. First of all, pause. Whenever I see something that I want to shoot, I lift up the viewfinder, I check out the composition, and I take away the camera from my eye, and I just notice everything around me again. Then I ask, is this something I want to remember? If so, I pick it back up and I take the photo. Secondly, look around the edges of your viewfinder. Just look at the edges of your frame. Is there anything there that shouldn't be there? Just take a moment and eliminate them. Take a moment, line up your shot better, and take that photo. Thirdly, choose one subject. We are so used to trying to capture everything that we rarely just decide on one single thing. So focus on one thing and capture that perfectly. Slowing down composition like this doesn't just make you a better photographer, in my opinion. It makes you notice life. It makes you notice how the sunlight falls through the windows in your study. It shows you the way that your kid's hair is falling across his face. Film turns composition practice into a mindfulness exercise. You're not just arranging shapes, you're learning to really see. On paper, the limits of film photography look like a curse, but they're actually a blessing. You get a fixed number of shots, a fixed ISO for your film, a delay between taking the photo and actually receiving the scans. Limited exposures mean you cannot capture everything, and that limitation creates creativity. That decision is an act of mindfulness. A fixed ISO means you stop fiddling with settings between each shot. You get creative, you move your feet, you move your position, you move your frame, you find shade, you find better lighting, you wait for the right moment. The delay in seeing your photos is the hardest thing in a world of instant everything. It teaches you to stretch your attention span. It teaches you to live and be okay in the moment between the I've done something and I don't know if I have done that right. You learn to trust that something is developing even when you can't see it. So if you are used to instant gratification, instant feedback, film is going to feel frustrating to you. I know it did for me, but that is where the slowing down happens. Instead of fighting the limitations, seeing them as prison bars, see them as guardrails, teaching you to slow down. The ISO, the delay in seeing your prints, the exposure settings that need to be just right, the lighting conditions that need to be just right, are all teaching you to slow down and be okay with not knowing. The fourth thing that I learned is that art is personal. There is no wrong or right way. When you start film, you see incredible work online. I follow a lot of great creators and great photographers who capture amazing content, and my skill level has not reached that, not by far. Then you get your first roll of film back and you think, my photos are terrible. But here's what I'm slowly learning. The photo that moves me is more important than the photo that impresses the internet. Technical perfection is not the same as emotional truth. Some of my favorite photos are film photos that we took on our honeymoon on a cheap point-and-shoot camera. And these compositions are not great. The lighting wasn't perfect. I knew nothing about photography back then. But these photos move me. These are the photos that I had blew up and put above my bed. These are the photos that I constantly come back to remind myself of where my marriage started. Film is brutally honest. It shows your mistakes, but it also shows your eye. Mindfulness here looks like this. It means to like your own photos, to like your own work, and to keep a record of what you like, and then to see the commonality between all those that you really love. Moods, textures, subjects, lighting. That is your taste forming. That is your art language. The goal is not to become a good photographer by some external standard. It's to become more myself with a camera in hand. The next thing that I learned, and this is a big one, is that lighting beats a good camera every day of the week. As beginners, we obsess about gear, what lens, what film, what development process, all of these stuff. But if there's one thing that will transform your photos the most, it's lighting. And with film, good lighting doesn't just improve your photography, it gives you more room for error. A basic camera, cheap lens, and cheap film stock will look so much better than an expensive setup in bad lighting. Here are a couple of practices you can do to start noticing light. When you enter a room, just look at the lighting. Is it soft? Is it hard? Does it come from the top, from the side? How does it make you feel? That feeling is important. Is it cozy? Is it natural? Is it harsh? Learning to notice light is learning how to notice life. Once you start seeing light, you start seeing beauty in ordinary places. So the 5 beginner lessons are simple so far. Film doesn't need to replace digital. Composition is everything. The limits are a feature, not a bug. Art is personal, and lighting matters more than you think. But none of this is just about cameras. This is about how we move through life. If you want to try this mindful beginner thing for yourself, here's an experiment you can do this week. Pick one roll of film, load your camera, go to a place that you love, and just complete the roll. But before each and every photo, before each and every snap that you take, ask yourself, is this worth noticing? And when you say yes, just drop your camera and look. Take in the moment. Be there. Then come back and snap the memory you just made. That photo will forever be a monument to that moment. And then when you finally get your scans back, I want to challenge you to print out some of your favorite photos and just sit with them a while. Really notice them. Really look at them. Study your own work. Love your own work. Appreciate what you've done and what you've learned. If this was helpful, you're welcome to stick around for some more beginner fails and wins, and maybe just a way to move through life at a bit slower pace than we are used to in 2026. In the comments, let me know what one of these 5 practices you are going to try with your film camera next. And here's to fewer shots and fuller moments.